Today, we're putting some idiots against a bunch of fat people who can build a better civilization. The idiots aren't exactly known for making good decisions. And the fat people, well, survival isn't always easy when running is optional. Both civilizations will begin with the same land, the same resources, and the same chance of success. Only difference is the people living in them. Here is our so-called perfect world, which will of course divide equally. On the left side, we're gonna spawn in our 10 idiots, which we will genetically modify to give them an IQ of absolutely 0. And on the right, we're gonna have our fat civilization, which we will genetically modify to be fat as well as slow and mega giants. We're now on year 1, and both kingdoms are gonna form themselves. Our little fatties seem like they're having a great time, but look at how slow and ginormous they are. The idiots on the other side are mostly sleeping or having a little bit of a party. They are a lot faster, which may give them an advantage towards development. Their main issue is probably gonna be decision making. And proof is, they're gonna manage to get a house, a town hall, a barrack, and they're even already building a fountain. Whilst our fatties have one house and are building a town hall, but their extremely low stamina is definitely not going to help them out. Regarding our two kings, on the fatty side, we have King Chunkus, who's got an astonishing health of 736, but a stamina of only 51. On the idiot side, we have Derp, who definitely doesn't have as much health, a little bit more stamina, but the main issue is he's got 0 IQ. And by year 4, Derp already has a first children. His name is Bloop. Of course, he has horrible intelligence, and apparently he was born confused. Bloop doesn't seem too happy to be part of this civilization. Advancements are looking pretty good for the idiots. They've even built a library. Kind of ironic for people who can't even read. Bloop is still efficiently working up on some road. By year 10, our friend Chunkus finally gets his first children, Muffin and Chubbs. They were literally just born, and look at how massive they are. The size of a tree trunk. Populations are rising on both ends, but the idiots are starting to take a lead. They're now farming, with a mine and a windmill. Our fatties are falling behind a little bit, and they seemed a lot more clumped up. And by year 12, the idiots get hold of their first guns. This could be decisive development, just like it could be a threat to their own population. They start rising quickly, now at 36, whilst our fatties are standing at 24, with the best weapon being a steel spear. They started having some bad dreams, as he was an elf and vegetables were meat. A fatty dreaming about food, you can't get more realistic than that. And even though food was roaming around everywhere, the cattle was way too fast for them. The idiots were still rapidly expanding, but not really strategically. All they would build were houses. Derp was extremely happy and was now standing on 10 children, the oldest of which, Mr. Bloop, was mentally unstable. He would do some social recovery as he felt inspired and at the same time had a nightmare. Not really sure how his brain's working out. The fatties were really behind in population with barely 40 humans. Chubbs and Muffin had just turned 11, and Chubbs was so fat that he would sometimes glitch. It is now year 30. The idiots have a population of 135, whilst our fatties have 59. They both have built a new village though. Some of the fatty warriors finally unlocked some guns, and if we look at it, despite having a low population, the fatties had 19 warriors, whilst the idiots only had 17 in their army, because population matters. But if all of your civilization is just working in the fields, once this wall falls down, they won't be of much use. And despite the new fat village being 1 year older than the idiots one, they hadn't done a single advancement. Whereas the idiots already had a town hall, a watchtower, as well as 3 houses. Chunkus had an astonishing 11 children, and a health going up to over 1,000 now. To compare with the idiots, Derp is standing with barely 200. And we even have to click on the plus sign to see the astonishing 22 kids that he has. Bloop has really grown now, with already having a gun and being part of the idiot's army. He had taken in good lessons from his dad Derp and already had 11 children. We're now on year 50. Our idiots at 329 and our fatties are on 111. The idiots have developed a new village in the north and have continued developing their housing. All they care about is reproduction. Derp now has 24 children, whilst Bloop has lost 1 and is now down at 10. But the biggest change is how much the fatties have developed. They've managed to get another town hall and barrack going, as well as a library and a windmill. Even though there's so so many fatties on it that we can't even see the mill at all. Chunkus, who's now turned 69,
Yeah, boy.
now has 13 kids and is standing at an astonishing 1,200 health. Chubbs has unlocked some weapon, getting his total damage quite high up, while Smuffin is focusing on getting her health up. This is where the fatties are focusing. Rather than looking up on numbers, they're looking up at health. They developed a new village in the south, with Chubbs helping out. But when we say helping out, he was sleeping. And we've now fast forwarded to year 100. The total population is over 1,200, and the majority of it is for the idiots. They now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 villages. Our fatties only have 4 and are barely standing at 300. The idiots, despite having developed all of these villages, they've still highly focused on housing. King Derp unfortunately died of unknown circumstances, but his son Bloop is still standing. His health though was only of a maximum 100. Chunkus was still having a good time, standing on almost 1,400. He had become so wise that he had started writing books. One about geometry, the other about the tale of Chunkus and Baba, and the last one about the legends of his clan. Most likely a book about just himself. His daughter Muffin was actually pregnant. Somehow the health had gone down to 600. Chubbs wasn't really happy, mostly because he just had to constantly pay taxes. It is officially time to tear this wall apart. Bring these two civilizations together, and some idiots would immediately cross the border. Look at how many of them were intrigued about what was happening on the other side. The size difference between these humans was astonishing, and eventually a group of fatties realized it was time to look over on the west. One of them pulled out a gun, and it wasn't seen very well by the idiots. He was getting shouted at, and even hit with a stone axe. He was so nice though that he couldn't care less. He slowly came back to his village whilst the idiots were still chasing him. It made some of the fatties angry though. One of their strong army leaders decided it was time to show off some strength, and in the glimpse of an eye they all started shooting at each other. The idiots had numbers, and within seconds all of them were pushing into the fatties' territory. But the fatties were a lot more strategic. They would go ahead and hit the large groups. Numbers on the idiot side were drastically falling. Panic started arising, and people were getting angry. On year 108, Chunkus and Muffin fell in battle. A new king was elected, and of course, it was the man himself, Chubbs. Bloop was also on the front line, but his health was so low that he couldn't do much against getting bounced around. But only one hit from Chubbs, and he would disappear. Chubbs had unlocked everything he could, as he managed to fall in love, whilst he was shielded in battle, unlocking some incredibly strong armor and the best gun. He started to rack up the kills, 7 kills with just 1 shot. That's how efficient he would be. By year 117, the idiots had gone for a big push right in the center. They managed to steal one of the villages, or at least what was left of that village. Chubbs was still fighting strongly with some of his elite warriors. He had turned himself into an absolute unit. But in the glimpse of an eye, the fatties went in for a southern push. They had rallied some of the idiots to their cause, so now we had a couple of 0 IQs helping out the big guys. Chubbs had realized the push was now or never. They had lost some villages in the south, abandoned one in the north, but so did the idiots, and their population numbers had dropped to 60, but the idiots were also below 100. And as the years went by, the fat population kept rebuilding itself, and it seemed like victory was coming, but it was just a matter of time. On year 150, they managed to steal the idiots' capital, and eventually the remaining idiots vanished. History will remember many great kings. Chunkus wasn't necessarily one of them, but his son Chubbs certainly was, ending on 123 kills and an astonishing health of almost 2,000. He had been outnumbered, surrounded, and faced a civilization 4 times larger than his own, but Chubbs led the Fat Kingdom to one of the greatest upsets in history.